Welcome to the MICK Show, where I give you a laid-back look at the lives and businesses of today's most well-respected creatives. You'll learn key life lessons from culture's most prominent personalities, musicians, actors, athletes, and CEOs. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the show. This is the MICK Show. Welcome back to the MICK Show. This is episode 7 featuring Tyler Mansour. If you've seen any amazing sneaker imagery over the last couple years, whether it's on social media, websites, even magazines, best believe it's either been taken by this man or inspired by this man. He's bridged his love for sneakers and his love for photography into an amazing career, super creative, super inspirational. We're going to talk to him about how he did exactly that and how you can do that as well. Welcome to episode 7 of the MICK Show. All right, welcome back to the MICK Show. This is our latest podcast, and this time we're delving deep into a world that I love, a world that I'm super passionate about, a world I spend significantly too much money on, the sneaker world. And, you know, we have a person who not only understands sneaker culture so amazingly, but also has created the most beautiful sneaker images you've ever seen on Instagram. You probably don't even realize that half the sneaker images you look at are shot by this man, because everyone probably just steals the shit and doesn't give you credit. Tyler Mansour, Arab Lincoln, what up?
Yo, what's good, Mick? How you feeling? Thank you for that introduction. That was very beautiful. I think I might have to soundbite that at some point or get you to
send you the file.
Yeah, I might need that as my DJ cut.
I love it. That'll be your intro. Thank you for taking time out. I would assume for a creative such as yourself that a quarantine is almost beneficial in a way to you compared to somebody like me I need to play in front of people. Your work is behind a camera for objects that aren't people. Have you found that your craft has evolved? Did you try new things now because you're stationary?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is definitely something that kind of I surprised myself with, because I work pretty much full time over at KITH. And I think I got into such a rhythm of what I was doing there that things kind of became almost autopilot, which is beneficial in one way, right? Because, it makes life a little bit more smooth. But I think what I lost during that was getting more creative and really diving into, my subconscious almost, and really trying out new things just because, it's just part of a routine. So because of, this pandemic and everything else that's going on, it definitely just shook that all the way up, But it was a blessing in disguise, because what I found out really quickly was that now all this routine and all this extra noise that was kind of impeding the creative side of things was now gone. So I was kind of back at physically present at the creative wheel again. And it was exciting, because it definitely was it's been a while since I feel I've had that space to create. So short answer, it's definitely helped a lot. I'm very thankful, and I know I'm very blessed to be able to even give you that answer.
What came first for you in your creative passion? Was it love for photography or love for sneakers?
It was the sneakers. I think a lot of people have a similar story, growing up kind of in the 90s, Michael Jordan, you wanted to emulate him as much as possible. And the thing that, always stuck out to me, because I was all right at basketball, but not ever going to go professional by any means. But I was I can still have that connection through his footwear. So, yeah, I think I was 7 years old when I think it was the white and red 12s that came out. I was just in love, and I begged my mom. I was please let me get these. And then she eventually caved. Thank you, Mom. And I was able to get them. And it was just love at first sight. I was just these are so beautifully designed. And it wasn't that conversation internally at the time. I just knew I liked them, and I just knew I wanted to play like the guy. Fast forward to, let's say right around high school, there's a photography club. And I was just you know what, why don't I take my love, because I love, like, at this point I'm like getting sneakers pretty like frequently, and I was like, my mom wants me to do something else besides like buy shoes all the time. I was like, how can I kind of like spin this so that I can still buy sneakers like a lot, still be involved in that, but then like also like do something that I genuinely enjoy. And I was taking pictures with like, it came with like a computer, right? It was like a free like little like add-in Kodak like easy share digital like maybe 2 megapixel camera, something like that, right?
Wait, the camera came with the computer?
It came with the computer. I shit you
That
not.
is wild.
Like, that was a thing. I'm pretty sure that was
This
the
was not a
case.
Mac, obviously. This was definitely a Windows
Oh,
computer.
it was definitely Windows, as like PC, like can't remember the exact make, but yeah, it was very generic. And I was just like, you know what? I've got this camera and I've got these shoes. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I do things similar to how Nike was doing back in the day as well, which is like creating these beautiful campaigns with like Mars Blackman and Jordan, Spike Lee, and then like Michael Jordan. And then I started kind of like getting my Google on, because Google, I think, was finally a thing at that point. And I started finding like all these different ads. And then I like officially found Nike Talk. And Nike Talk was just like Pandora's box. That opened up so much for me. So I found Nike Talk, and then I found another thread where it must have been like destiny, like a higher power must have sent me to this page, which was like sick pics of like sneakers and stuff like that. And I was like, there it is. There's my calling. I was like, I knew that there was definitely this channel and this outlet, and now this is what I'm going to do. So I started using this like, run of the mill camera, like whatever. It was like a potato camera or something. And just like started doing my thing with shoes, like at the photography club. And it kind of just, yeah, that was like how it started.
Was Instagram around at this time?
No, it was way before Instagram. I think Facebook was like a thing, but you had to be like in college, I think, in order to have it. And this was like later on in high school. So I didn't even have officially a Facebook yet. So I think I was like posting on either it was like Nike Talk or maybe like my MySpace.
So you're doing all of this. You're taking these pictures. You're sharing them on what social did exist at the time. How do you go from the kid doing that probably in your bedroom to becoming the photographer for KITH as they began this like glorious biblical rise, right? And now, you'll be able to take that and create your own studio. And so we have a really wide audience with this show. And what I try to focus on is everybody is a creative, right? Doesn't matter what you do. Like, I always hate the fact that you're told that, like, you go in corporate America, this is the floor the creatives sit on. They get the Apple computers, they get the Windows, they get the fucking table. But the other people who have to actually run the nuts and bolts of these companies, they're told they're not creative because they're not the creative. But like, everybody needs to be creative and innovative in what they do to keep America and
100%
all the shit going, right? So my viewpoint is that everybody's a creative. So, and everybody can get advice and lessons and inspiration from creative and non-creative. But like, how did you flip that? Like, what is the story that you could tell people to give them that inspiration?
Okay, so for me, let's start it right around high school. I'm like I got like an official like good camera. It wasn't like I feel bad like dogging that Kodak Easy Share or whatever, but I mean, it is what it is.
They're not sponsoring, so it's all good.
So I have like my first official DSLR. I think it was like a Nikon D40, if I recall correctly. And I was like, all right, let's, you got like a semi-professional camera. It was like entry level, but still it's got some power behind it. So let's like make use of it. So I started doing my thing, and then I kind of like put it down, to be honest, for a little bit, because I got involved in a relationship with a girl that was just like not really like the most of healthy and I was young, we were both young, but whatever. And that finally like came to an end or whatever. And I was like, all right, let's get real, pick it back up, do your thing. So at this point, I'm still technically unemployed because I'm a college kid. It's like trying to like do all that never was like good for me. So I start going pretty ham with like the camera, and I'm seeing like some pretty good responses like on the internet or whatever, but nothing like I could make a career out of, right? So then I start to kind of get a little discouraged again. And then I start working at Starbucks. And I was just like, I don't know how I landed here, but this is what we're doing, I guess. So I'm doing that, and I hated it. I really could not stand, and like, no shade to Starbucks, but all the shade in the world to Starbucks. I couldn't get down with it. I remember like listening to Yeezus like every day to motivate me, like driving up like full blast in the whip to just like get me through like, a shift or whatever. So like that was sort of like the mood, if I could paint a picture for you. But then this aha moment kind of came where I was able to purchase a pair of these pretty like hype ASICs at the time online, which was KITH.com. And it was Ronnie Fieg's, it was the Miami Dolphin like gel like 3-color. So I was like really like excited. I was just like, wow, like I'm kind of shocked I was able to get them because it was a pretty hype release. And this is a funny story. I was actually trying to get the other color that was part of the pack, which was the Knicks color. But for some reason, whatever link I clicked or whatever, it sent me to the Miami Dolphin page, and I was like, fuck it. Like, I need to get like one of these, and like, you know what? Like, I'll grab the other one later if I have to, but I gotta at least get something. So I grabbed those, thankfully, because I then was like, all right, I'm gonna take some pictures of these. And at the time, I had this friend who wanted to get couples pictures taken. Like, so he was dating this girl and he wanted to have like photos of him and his girl. And like they brought their dog. And I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, he was like offering to pay me. So I was like, fine. So I suggested this area where I had already like pictured up, like visualized in my mind where I wanted to take the pictures of the ASICs. So I was like, two birds, one stone. Boom. So I get done taking the pictures of the friend and the dog and this girl. And I was just like, in South Carolina during the summer, it is not the place to be. Like, I love South Carolina, but that humidity was just like next to none. So I almost was just like, screw it, I'm just going to go home. But I mustered up the energy. I was like, it's just shooting shoes. You'll be fine. Like, just do your thing. So I went, grabbed the shoes, and I'm like taking pictures, and eventually I land on this one shot, and I was like, I think might be my best shot I've ever taken of a pair of shoes. Like, as weird as that might sound, it just was like, I don't know, it just looked really cool. So then I went back home and I was like, I have to edit this picture like immediately because I was that excited. I edited, put my little, sauce on it, and I was just like, wow, like, let's throw this straight to because like at this point now, Instagram is a thing. So I throw it on Instagram, and I was just like, you know what? Like, this is a great picture. Just go ahead and talk your shit real quick. So I throw the picture up, and I put in the caption, at Ronnie Fieg, you are going to give me an opportunity to shoot for you. And boom.
I love the boldness, man. I love it. I love it.
I was just like, at this point, for me, I feel like it was like one of those like Big Sean moments when he just like started rapping for Ye, like at the radio station, and it was just like, what now, type moment. So just kind of spoke myself into existence, and lo and behold, after I think I want to say like 5 or 6 minutes, I got the notification that he liked the picture, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. And then like 10 seconds after that, I got a comment, and it said, yes, I will. And I was like, I wanted, to tie it back to Jordan. I wanted to like jump up in the air after like when he hit that shot on Craig Elo in the finals wearing the fours, and just was like, let's go, like kind of moment. So
what an amazing moment look, what I hear from that, right, is you have a skill, you have a talent, you have a gift. Your friends asked you to do something for them to capture a special moment. You did it without even being overly concerned about the money, to do something good and create kindness for somebody else. You went and did that. There's shout out to your dog. So your creativity to put goodness into the world, you got the shot that ultimately changed your life. And that same opportunity to change your life has now also impacted the sneaker world, the photography world, the Instagram world. You've inspired so many other people, all from that one moment. And see, I love hearing stories like that, because everybody we interview has some sort of moment like that where you don't even realize that 1 second. But what I find more often than not is it comes from putting out a good energy, and it comes from putting out a kindness, and it comes from sharing your gift the right way. It doesn't come from some opportunistic thing. You still have to shoot your shot, and you still have to be bold with your ass,
Sure.
which you did. But
Yeah.
your original, stepping stone for that was pure goodness. And now you get to impart that on the world, which I love. Okay, so we fast forward. You've shot, great word. You've shot.
Go for it.
It's a pandemic, right? So probably hundreds and hundreds of shoes at this point, maybe 1,000. Who even knows? I don't even know if you keep track. But
I've lost count, man.
How did you go from, like, obviously you're still doing KITH stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
But you have your own studio, and how is that going?
So yeah, I shoot full time at KITH, but I also have my own like little creative outlet, which is Makeshift Studio, and that has been similar kind of to like this working from home quarantine situation. It's like really a good balance for me. This time from working from home has really like confirmed that, which is like, look, do like these one-off projects, right? With different like shoes or like furniture, like whatever the case may be, but just don't like put everything into one like basket, because that will ultimately affect like your main basket, right? It could. So I'm now like, for me, just putting like some energy into that, because I see where it then comes back around, and then I can do something like makes me look at like a KITH shoot differently,
Yeah.
It's been like this nice little creative outlet for me where I can just get like really like saucy with it, just like switch things up and whatnot. But yeah,
what's the most unique thing you've ever shot? Like, that you've beautified? Have you ever shot anything where people were like, you can't make that look cool, but you made it look cool?
I've never thought about that really, because I just like, I'm always under the impression that no matter what you give me, like especially if it's like product driven or whatever, like I'm going to make it look good. So I've never really...
that could be your answer. That's a great answer, actually. That's a perfect answer.
Candles. I always view something like, I'm always going to try to find the beauty of it, right? I'm always going to like be like, look, like if you shot it at this angle or under like this light or, whatever the case may be, I'm just always like challenging myself to find like that beauty and convince people that there is something like really beautiful about it. I've taken pictures of like candles, Byredo candles. I don't know if you've ever heard of that brand or not, but they make some beautiful. Yeah. When I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I want to make these pictures look as good as these candles smell. If you could like smell this is what it would look like, type thing. But yeah, I shot some stuff because we just recently started carrying that brand at KITH, and I really liked how those pictures came out. And I think most people probably would have been like, you can't make that candle look any different than like, whatever. But I think I did all right.
I want to talk a little bit about the stuff you're doing with Nike. You have the Air Force One thing going on.
Yes. One of my favorite silhouettes, bar none. I think it's like the perfect canvas. And I think a lot of people that have an appreciation for that shoe would probably, tell you the same thing. I mean, you can put so many different colors and like fabrics, like anything, and like just really turn it into something completely new. It's funny because like I know wifey's like, are you gonna really do like another Air Force One? Like, yes, because like no matter what, you can always make this shoe look completely different, at least how I look at it. So either way, another thing during this whole pandemic situation, what do we call this? Anyway, what do we call like, because I get so tired of saying like, oh yeah, like the pandemic situation, or like the...
You know what I call it, bro? I call it...
What do you call it?
It's just the halftime show of your life,
You know what? The real rap starts at halftime, as Nas would so eloquently
as Nas would say. And that's how I look at it, because if you think about it, right, like a lot of people have been up 20 at halftime, and they come out at halftime, and then they lose the game. Some people have been down 15, but they take that break to recalibrate themselves, and then they come out and they win the game, right? And I love that. That's what this year is for us, man. It's a really long Super Bowl halftime show, and the players are just stuck in those locker rooms, and eventually they're going to come out, and it's going to be, what did you do? What did your coach say to you during that halftime?
Exactly.
It's going to make you come out. You're either going to come out and win the game, or you're going to come out and you're going to lose the game, but it's up to you.
We'll say, I love what you said, so I'm going to start, adopting that. So at halftime, I was like, you know what? I'm going to find like another little creative outlet for myself. And like, I've always liked the ID program, even before they like changed it to be called like Nike by You. You know, it was ID. And I was just like, it was always like just like real quick, you know, like I never had like time to like really think about it. And like for me, like I really will make like 5, 6, 7 different iterations of like one idea before I'm like, okay, this is the one. And like even still, it's a long process. So like I found myself with like this time to be able to like kind of really attack it in the way I've always wanted it to. So I started off making like a couple, like right around like when this halftime started, and I really just loved how they came out. Like I got them and like I took pictures, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like when I posted and I saw like everybody like kind of going crazy about them and like, you know, speaking highly of them, I was like, oh, y'all like this? Like, all right, let me show you what else. Like I got more. So I was just like, let's keep doing this. And like it's just been like a very therapeutic process for me, like just being able to like see colors and, you know, switch them up, and like having like an inspiration from like whether I, you know, took a trip upstate New York and just got inspired by something, or even just being upstate New York and having all this space and being able to feel like I can like actually breathe without a mask, thankfully. And it just gives you like an idea, you know, like you start to think about other things that aren't necessarily like direct, like correlations to whatever you're seeing. I just started doing that, and like one pair led to another, and then like I was like, oh, I should do this pair and a different kind of blocking, but like the same palette. And I started doing like iterations and like remixes to like this and that, and I was like, fuck, like now 21 pairs later, I was like, all right, you gotta like cut it off at a certain point, because like I do think that like at a certain point, like people are just like, oh, another ID, like oh, good job, like, you know, whatever. And like I don't want these moments or stories to just kind of like land on dead ears or whatever you want to call it. So I've decided to kind of take a break from doing all of those, and yeah, hopefully, you know, there will be another outlet of some sort that will lend its.
Have you gotten any feedback from Nike about the project that you did like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of, you know, I've got a few connections and friends over on campus, and like they love it. They think it's like really great, and I hope that it will lead to something else. But if it doesn't, even if it didn't, like honestly, Mick, I mean, again, I just have so much fun with it that it's, you know, it is what it is, and it's all love. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wouldn't love to have like my own curated set of options so people could go and be like, oh, Arab Lincoln has like an ID builder thing, and like you can only use like this color and material on like this part of the shoe. Like we got to get it. I've thought about it a million times, and like I feel like I know exactly what I would do. I'm not going to say anything about it. You know, I don't want to give too much.
Well, I mean, I think we need to put that energy out there, man. I think we need to put that out there, because I mean, how often do you get like the premier sneaker photographer who works at the premier sneaker store in the world taking something that was really designed for kids in their bedroom just to create some shoes and some colors that they didn't have, and you're taking it and you're elevating, just like how DJs take music and we put it together differently to make it sound better. How you've taken sneakers and a free Kodak camera from a compact stereo, Walmart computer, and made the whole thing. Like, why couldn't you do that? Because I think what you're doing is you're taking something that's accessible to all, but you're elevating it in a way to move the culture forward. And I think that's,
and I know people would love it, man. I mean, look, like I'm not going to get into like numbers or whatever, because like at the end of the day, like numbers are, you know, they can tell a story of a picture that might not necessarily be the case, but like whatever the case is for me. And it's funny, before I jumped on this call, I just randomly had like, and I don't do this like ever, but I just had like this random moment of like, I'm going to go live on Instagram right now. And like, it really led from my most recent post, where I posted like a whole like montage of all the different ones that I did, the Air Forces. And in my story, I told people, you know, screenshot me like your favorite one and send it to me. probably like the worst idea I've ever had from like a bandwidth perspective, because like I got flooded. I mean, I've gotten like a lot of DMs at once for like other things, but like this was by far like.
But there's no better audience than a completely engaged audience. So,
Yeah, and I was just like, oh shit. So like I was like, you know what? I got to jump on live and just tell people like, look, like I started to respond to people, and then like it just like wasn't like ending for me. So I was just like, I'm gonna jump on live and just like thank people and tell them like, yo, I'm sorry, but like I do not have the capacity at this moment, because like we'll be here all day, and I have the show with Mick in like 30 minutes. So like I gotta come up with something. So yeah, so I jumped on live.
Yeah, just blame me. It's all good.
Yeah, that is all his fault.
Crushing all these kids' dreams, and it's all my fault.
If your DMs have not been responded to yet, at Mick on Instagram, he is the person in charge of this.
My fault.
But yeah, so anyway, point being that like I know people would be hype about it, and we'll see. But yeah.
Let me ask you, as we begin to wrap this up, there's a couple just last minute questions. What advice would you give to a young creative right now in any field coming out of this halftime as we enter the new world order? You and I are both blessed to follow our creative passions and turn them into careers. And I think now, especially with the way the job market's going to be coming out of this, a lot more people are going to have to do that. What advice would you give to that person who looks up to what you've done?
Self-initiative. Take initiative no matter what the case may be, because look, there is, in my opinion, a right fit for any creative somewhere out there. You just have to find it, right? Like, I think that in a world of like so much instant gratification that we kind of live in now, whether it's like, oh, we want to Google the answer for something real quick, or oh, like I'm gonna double tap this picture to show somebody that like I like what they did, like just really quick, like it's a very quick world that we're in. I think that there's been sort of a disconnect as far as like putting like that legwork in and really grinding and taking like the self-initiative to things. And I think that you got to put the legwork in, right? But you also need to take the self-initiative too. And the stars will align at some point. I truly believe it. It's just like when they do align, will you be prepared to take flight?
Right.
You got to be ready for it. So taking the self-initiative, just being prepared. And like, I think one of the biggest things too for me is just like, don't let a no make you feel any less about like what you're trying to do and what you believe in, right? Just truly believe like what your mission is the mission that you should be on, because it probably is, and go for it. I'm cognizant that not everybody has and I sure as shit didn't, they don't have the maybe financial prowess to just like always be chasing a dream. But you can still make time after, maybe if it's like a 9 to 5 that you need to put like that foundation down for you, you still have, 6 to 8 after that.
Absolutely. I don't, excuses are just that. They're just excuses. Like you need to.
So, and like we're all guilty. Like I don't think anybody isn't like guilty of it, of just like making an excuse to like put something off. Like I know I am, even to this day. Like there are things that I'm like, fuck, like I really should be doing this, and then like I'll just like find like a little small excuse and be like, oh, I'll get to it later. But being that as it may, like you got to grind and believe in yourself.
Anything that Ronnie shared with you over the years that was really
consistency. That was one of the first things he told me. Consistency is key. I get it more than I ever did. It's like, yeah, you could come out with like one smash hit, right? But eventually you're going to have something else to follow that. So like consistency in my world, which is like super important. It's just like I have like OCD with like how the laces are tied or like how they lay like in a styled shot. And it's like, sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I have the energy to do that again, like for this shoe. Or like, oh my God, these laces are terrible laces, like material wise. So I can't really necessarily style it the way I would like a Jordan 1 lace, right? So instead of like making an excuse to like just like take something that's amateur or whatever, it's like, all right, think of a creative way to make that lace look good in another way then, instead of just like trying to do what you usually do. But yeah, consistency, super key.
I love it. All right, we're going to wrap. We're going to wrap with a quick game of, we basically do 4 quick questions playing off of the letters in my horrible name, Mick. My very
Okay.
just corny, cheesy 4-letter
All good.
Irish, even though I'm Polish name. And it's kind of like a speed round, but you could put as much thought into it as you want. But this is where the really interesting answers come out. So,
Okay.
M, music. One song that has significant meaning to you and why?
I Wonder by Kanye West. Yeah, it was a song that, like, at that point in my life, I was really like trying to figure out like the bigger meaning to things. And like, I feel like I had like a lot of naysayers that were like, oh, like the photography, footwear thing is not really going to work out for you. Like, that's not like a thing. Like, why are you doing like whatever? So, like, yeah, that song really like gave me like a deeper like thought process to things. And just the beat was super dope.
If you've never heard it, dig up the original sample of that song. It's a beautiful song. I used to play it a lot before I mixed into his version. It's a beautiful, beautiful sample.
Remind me of the art. I've heard the original version. I just don't remember.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you when we get off. It's a really beautiful song. What I normally ask for I is if you could fix one world problem, what would it be? But for you, I just want to tweak it slightly and say, if you could design one sneaker, what would it have been and why?
Zoom Flight 95. The Zoom Flight 95 J Kid basketball silhouettes, I think, is one of the illest designs from the basketball world and in general. But I also would want to do that shoe because, I mean, I'm sure there might have been somebody that's done something with it before, but I just think it's a super untapped shoe. And I think that, like, the design of that shoe itself would lend to, like, some really ill storytelling. It's just
was that a Tinker shoe or was that somebody else's?
It was a Jason Kidd Nike.
Who was the original designer? Do you know?
Was it Erica Varr? Maybe, I don't know. It's a good question. I'd have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it might be Erica Varr just because he did the Air Max 95. Or no, that was Sergio Lorazano. I don't want to like be like, oh yeah, that was obviously this guy.
I mean, I'm just saying, you have a zillion followers and a great platform. I would be DMing that creator and saying, hey man, we need a collab on bringing these back out because
yeah, no, you're right. I definitely I would love to do
the 25th year anniversary of it. So, you know, if it was 95, right?
Shit, you're right.
All right, C, and I feel like we kind of covered this, but craziest risk you've ever taken?
It was moving to New York. Well, you know what? Honestly, in a way, I didn't even look at it as a risk because to me, it was my only option. I was like, you know what? It's scary, but you know what? Like, this is your calling. You've got to do it. This is what you've always wanted to do. So do it. But if I had to think of another crazy risk, because I don't know if I necessarily consider that a risk, but I would say the craziest risk. It's a great question. Fuck, you might have stumped me. Do I get to continue to K?
Yeah. No, I just got to press the end button right there. I mean, well, yeah, we just get right to K. Key life lesson you always carry with you from somebody that you admire. Somebody that you fuck with that just gave you some great advice.
My father told me, the golden rule. Him and my mom both taught me really well about just treating everybody how you want to be treated. I think that today is still like, I see all the racial injustices going on in the world, and like, I don't mean to like go left field with this at all and like get super like thing, but like honestly, my girlfriend, probably future wife, she's black. My best friend back home, black. Like, just so many like things that like I've seen them go through and like seen them experience, and like it's hard for me to fathom in one way how we're still like going through dumb shit like this, like even in 2020. But I do feel like if they had parents like mine, if like everybody had parents like mine, like I'm really bigging up my parents right now, but I love them. So I think the world would be a lot better off, just like treating people how you want to be treated. Unless you want to be treated like dog shit, maybe that is the route to go. But yeah, I constantly think about that when, I see like everything that's going on, and I'm just going to continue to remain true to that one lesson. I mean, they taught me a lot of lessons, but that was the most important. I'm pretty sure it's not like an original idea, obviously.
No, but I mean, looking back at everything you said, like even back to that moment where you took that picture for your friends that gave you the shot that changed your life, like that seems to be like your dad's and mom's advice, obviously like coming true and manifesting itself in your life.
Exactly.
You put your creative twist on it, and now you wear amazing Hawaiian pink floral shirts and
Shout
podcast
out
interviews.
to this, I just put this on before the call. Not gonna lie, because I had to get fresh real quick. A friend of mine on Instagram, he's doing this brand called Abroad, and he sent me this, and super sick. And y'all should definitely. I mean, look, like there's been like a lot of people on IG that reach out, and like I appreciate it and I respect it, but this by far like takes the cake out of any like thing I've ever been sent, from like sort of like these self-starting, self-initiative brands. So Abroad, fire. I'm in vacation mentally this whole time. This makes me feel it that mental visual is like an actual reality. So
I love it. So you're going to come out of halftime with your vacation state of mind, go out there, create those Jason Kidd Nike limited editions, and marry your girlfriend, and all these the year. I mean, the best is yet to come, right?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for giving me the time too, because I gave you some time, but you gave me the time as well, and
I appreciate it. The point of this was just like so many people inspire me, and I love to see what they're doing, and I just like everybody has lessons they could share to help. Just like people did it for you and people did it for me. Now we could do it for other people, man. So
for sure,
that's what it's all about. Tyler, thank you, bro. This is the MICK Show. We'll be back with another guest next week. And thank you all so much for tuning in.
Peace, everybody.
And that was it for another episode of the MICK Show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We sincerely appreciate it. Please, please, please do us a favor. Wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcast, please, please subscribe to the MICK Show. Like the MICK Show. Write a review for the MICK Show. Leave a star rating for the MICK Show. Whatever you can do helps. 5 stars would be amazing. 4 stars would be cool. 4.5. I was never an A+ student in school. I was like that B+ guy. So anything in that range, more than grateful for. Also, make sure you follow on social, Instagram @MICK, Twitter @IamMick. Let me know who you want to see on a future episode of The MICK Show so we could try to get them on for you. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you back here next week.